5 Palestinians, including 2 children, have been killed in the southern Gaza Strip following an Israeli strike overnight, according to local health officials. The attack occurred late Wednesday and, based on initial assessments, targeted what Israel considers a suspected Hamas member. The incident comes amid continued tensions along the Gaza border, despite a fragile truce that has officially remained in place for nearly 2 months. Emergency teams in Khan Yunis transported multiple wounded individuals to Nasser hospital, where local medical staff received a steady influx of casualties throughout the night. Footage from the hospital shows injured adults and children being brought in on stretchers. Civil defense workers in Gaza reported that the missile struck tents housing displaced Palestinians, an area that had already endured months of insecurity prior to the truce agreement. According to local authorities, the victims include 2 children aged 8 and 10, along with 3 adults aged 30, 36 and 46. Their identities have not yet been officially released. Health officials say the strike occurred after recent clashes in which 5 Israeli soldiers were reported wounded, prompting what the Israeli side described as a retaliatory operation. The truce between Israel and Hamas came into effect on October 10, nearly 2 years after the start of the conflict. Since its implementation, both parties have repeatedly accused each other of violating the terms, creating an unstable environment in which localized escalations continue. Humanitarian organizations operating in the Gaza Strip say the region remains highly vulnerable, with large numbers of displaced residents still living in temporary shelters. Hospital footage from early Thursday captures the scale of the aftermath. Injured civilians arrive in succession at Nasser Hospital, carried by paramedics and volunteers. Among them is a young child receiving treatment, surrounded by medical teams attempting to stabilize the wounded. Rescue workers are also seen carrying a covered body inside the facility. The situation in Gaza remains intertwined with broader regional developments. On Thursday, Israel resumed bombing southern Lebanon, striking the village of Jbaa. This escalation came 1 day after Lebanese and Israeli civilian representatives held their first direct talks in decades, a rare development viewed internationally as a potential de-escalation channel. However, the renewed strikes highlight persistent tensions along the Lebanese-Israeli border. Footage from Jbaa shows smoke rising over residential areas following the Israeli bombardment. Rescue personnel worked to extinguish fires and secure the site. According to local accounts, the strike targeted what Israel described as Hezbollah-linked positions. Lebanese officials have not confirmed whether militant infrastructure was present in the area. A local official, Yasser Mahdi, speaking near the impact site, described the building hit in the strike. In Arabic, he stated, "The neighborhood is full of residents. It's a 3-story home. It's completely civilian. The owners live in Beirut. Unfortunately, they didn't have time to remove their memories and important personal items." His remarks reflect the concerns raised in several Lebanese villages along the border, where residents say civilian structures have been repeatedly damaged amid ongoing Israeli military operations. Despite the ceasefire reached in November 2024, intended to conclude more than a year of hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah, Israeli forces have continued to carry out targeted strikes in southern Lebanon. Israeli officials maintain that their operations are defensive and aimed at preventing cross-border attacks by the Hezbollah movement, which is backed by Iran. Military sources also say Israel continues to hold positions in 5 areas of southern Lebanon that it deems strategically important. Lebanese authorities have criticized these deployments, calling them a violation of territorial sovereignty. The renewed Israeli strikes come at a time when regional diplomacy remains fragile. Observers note that sustained violations of ceasefire arrangements risk destabilizing local communities on both sides of the border. The talks held earlier this week had raised limited expectations that communication channels between Israel and Lebanon might improve, even without formal negotiations. In Gaza, meanwhile, the humanitarian toll continues to rise. Rescue workers from Gaza's civil defense say the tents that were struck housed displaced civilians who had relocated multiple times since the beginning of the conflict. The Civil Defense Organization has warned that many such shelters offer minimal protection against airstrikes or artillery fire. The images emerging from Nasser hospital illustrate the strain on medical staff who continue to operate under shortages of supplies and personnel. Doctors report that treating blast injuries remains one of the most challenging tasks due to the varied nature of wounds and the need for specialized equipment. Children make up a disproportionate share of those requiring urgent care after strikes in densely populated areas. International monitoring groups tracking the ceasefire in Gaza have not yet issued assessments regarding the latest incident. However, previous reports suggest that even isolated strikes can alter the stability of the truce, particularly if casualties include civilians or children. Diplomats familiar with the process note that broader political negotiations have stalled, leaving local commanders to manage day-to-day restraint. The Israeli military has not publicly commented on the specifics of the overnight strike in southern Gaza, but has indicated in recent weeks that it continues to target individuals it considers involved in operational planning for Hamas. Palestinian authorities contest many of these designations and say that civilian casualties remain unacceptably high. In Lebanon, investigators are assessing the extent of the damage in Jbaa. Buildings in the village show scorch marks and collapsed sections where fires erupted after the bombardment. Fire crews work through dense smoke to control the remaining flames, with footage showing multiple teams moving through the area. Local authorities have not confirmed whether there were casualties at the site. Regional analysts say the parallel developments in Gaza and Lebanon demonstrate how interconnected the security environment has become. Escalations in one area frequently influence the posture of armed groups in neighboring territories. Military actions carried out by either side risk reactivating wider fronts despite formal ceasefire agreements. The events of the last 48 hours follow a period of relative quiet along both the Lebanese and Gazan fronts. However, intelligence assessments published in previous months warned that the absence of sustained negotiations could lead to renewed hostilities, particularly in areas with active militant factions. As health workers in Gaza complete the identification of the victims killed in the strike, humanitarian agencies are preparing new assessments regarding displaced families. Many of the affected areas rely heavily on temporary aid provisions, which fluctuate depending on access routes and local security conditions. In Lebanon, local officials emphasize that many of the villages struck in recent months are primarily residential. Yasser Madi's statement underscores concerns that the latest bombardment hit a home whose owners were not present at the time but suffered loss of property. The incident adds to a growing list of structural damages recorded since 2024. Governments involved in regional monitoring have urged all parties to respect existing ceasefire terms and avoid actions that may provoke retaliatory responses. Official diplomatic channels have not yet confirmed whether the renewed strikes will trigger further dialogue or whether the escalation may continue. Military patrols along the Israeli-Lebanese border have been reinforced following the latest incident, with reports indicating higher alert status among units stationed in areas previously identified as flashpoints. Lebanese security forces are also conducting ground assessments to verify whether unexploded munitions remain near the strike zone. In Gaza, eyewitnesses told local medical staff that tents housing displaced people were located close to the impact area, increasing the likelihood of civilian casualties. Emergency technicians transported multiple wounded individuals to Nasser hospital, where footage shows children and adults receiving care under pressure. The sequence of events underscores an ongoing pattern of localized escalations in both territories. Despite formal ceasefires, field realities continue to generate friction, and communities on both sides remain at high risk of renewed violence. As regional actors continue to monitor the situation, no official body has announced new negotiations or de-escalation initiatives in response to the latest developments. The situation remains volatile across both Gaza and southern Lebanon, with civilian areas once again affected by military activity and no confirmed progress toward renewed ceasefire enforcement.